let's show them how to do a proper, take a 12 lead, and then more importantly, how we can transmit that 12 lead.
Of course. You're going to go to the second button down, second gray button down. You will see a 12. That means 12 leads, a 12 lead mode. So you'll select it. This will actually take you to the 12 lead setting. I mean, we could put information in, we could take a picture, we can actually see what's going on with the heart from the 12 lead perspective, right? So what we're wanting to do here, and I will tell you, one of the coolest features about the Zoll monitor is you get a live feed. So from the EMT perspective, transferring over to a paramedic, I want to see that. Do you want to see that screen, David?
I really do. And it's nice because if you put your hand on their pulse, you would actually see where the pulse is going, and you would actually see all the leads correlating at once.
And I'll tell you, like, the reason I brought that up, and I say this not in a bad way, but it can make for bad practices in the sense that you could take this screen away. As a department, I think we are pretty progressive. We want our guys to learn, we want our guys to be knowledgeable, especially when it comes to any practice that we do, this included. What I'm getting into is demographics. You're about to see what, when you hit the demographic button, meaning patient information, names, gender, ages, what that does to the screen. We're teaching guys early. In recruit school, as soon as they go to the station, hey, this is your baby, this is your job, we get onto a patient that's having chest pain, we go to the 12 lead, you're going to put information in.
Yes.
They know how to do that. I can go ahead and tell you 9 times out of 10, when they learn that, they're going to go to the scene where it's applicable, they're going to go to this screen, and the very first thing they're going to do is hit the demographics button. So I'm going to show you that button right now.
And remember, this is very important for when we start to transmit. You have to, when you transmit this, it's got to have the patient's last name and the sex. They said if you can do an age, that's great, but the sex, and more importantly, a last name will get Kennestone or Cobb or Paulding rolling down the road to getting that CAF team activated.
Correct. You hit this button, it'll bring up a whole nother screen. So if you see this, this is where we're putting information in. What did it do to that screen, David?
The second one, and what it did is actually brought up, and it actually will change your parameters of what your monitor is looking for to say, is this 45-year-old male, is this a criteria to make a STEMI or not a STEMI?
Correct. So that goes back into, there is minimum requirements, just like David said, certain things that the hospital needs when we transmit, let alone what the monitor will need. So talking about the monitor specifically, it will diagnose based off criteria that you place into the system.
Correct.
So that's age and gender. It is going to give you a potential diagnosis, whether it's STEMI, whether it's normal or not. It's going to give you some sort of feedback based off the information you put in. When you actually contact the hospital and you're transmitting, that's where further information may be required. That where names may need to be input. I will tell you, this monitor can be a little bit of a booger bear. It can be difficult.
It does, and this is why, especially at the BLS level, we need one of you all to take your time and put in that last name and sex. Hey, don't worry about the age at this moment in time, because this monitor will base a lot of stuff off of sex, and that alone will change the parameters to get you there. Now, yes, the ages, if you get down into the weeds, the ages will actually tell you, hey, this type of block goes along with this, or your axis deviation. Don't worry about that. Hey, sex and at least the last name if you guys are going to start transmitting.
So as far as putting that information, the names, how do we do that, David?
Well, going back to your fancy little buttons here. So if I was going to change the age, age happens to be highlighted. I'd push the button once, and then it's a simple up or down.
So let's put my information in. You want to put my information in?
Sure. And you're what, 22?
I wish. 36.
36. So I'm going to put you down here. I'm going to put you at 36.
Okay.
You have to be male.
Correct.
We don't have to worry about first name.
Correct.
We don't have to worry about middle name, but last name. So we're going to come in here. Now this is where people lose it at.
Yep.
Because if I click these buttons, if you notice, I'm just going to keep going around and around, and I can get to a W. Oh, what a pain.
Yep.
But look at these side buttons. I can actually go down one row, over one, click a button, go back up, then go over.
People tend to forget you have an option to manipulate on this side.
And it's so easy when you manipulate it that way to actually spell your name faster.
Even then, you still have to practice. I don't know how many ward laws are on Station 12's monitor, but there's a bunch. You're going to have to practice this to be efficient with it. There's just no way around it.
Oops. Oh. What happens if I make a mess?
Uh-oh.
Well, what's the easiest way to do it?
So you can backspace.
There we go. Bam. And like I said, I can actually push all these buttons, but look how long it takes me. Now, have seen people in the heat of the moment when their patient's really sick, them just going to town. So, but that's fine. Now, what do I do when I get here?
So now we have to save it, right? We actually have to go back to where we can actually hit the camera button, which is the capture of that 12 lead.
Okay.
There's two ways you can save it.
Okay.
You can either manipulate it like you did, David, through this text box and get to that save button that's at the bottom.
All right.
The easiest way, at the bottom it says save. It's the second button from the bottom. You hit it, it saves that information.
Now we're back here.
I thought it did. Yep.
Yeah, there it is. So there's the Wardlaw. Now what do I do to get to that camera button to snapshot my 12 lead?
So now we got to get off the actual demographic screen.
Okay.
So we're going to actually have to scroll down. So Dave, if you want to scroll down to that arrow down here and select that arrow, now we have the capability of actually doing a 12 lead, actually doing the capture, right?
Gotcha.
So how do we do that?
Well, it looks like a camera since we keep using the word snapshot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say snapshot them.
Yeah.
Biggest thing here is remember, we're acquiring it. No patient movement. The Zoll is very, very forgiving on lead placements and some movements. Once again, that old 60 hertz stuff. As long as the patient's not vibrating too much or whatever, they'll actually do a nice clean shot. If you notice here, we actually have a nice clean one. So what does this screen tell us?
So I will tell you too, and I've had a career span of two different monitors. I've had the LifePak and I've had the Zoll. And even BLS, ALS, I'm sure everybody's heard that there's good and bad between both of them.
Yes, sir.
This is probably one of the best features on this monitor.
Totally is.
You could truly see a side-by-side of where the patient was to where they are. And you can also get all the parameters and criteria of that 12 lead on the screen as well.
That's right. We can actually see what the MI look like and what they currently are, so see if our treatments are.
Yep.
That's right. I forgot about that.
It's going to give all this information that this printout will give you on this screen, which is awesome. So if you're looking at this side, it's giving you it's giving you your diagnosis. The information that we input, it said, hey, this is the possibility of what it is. I will hyper-focus on the fact that it can be wrong. So I wanted you to know that. From a BLS perspective, if it says STEMI, by all means, we can transmit it. That's fine.
And that's what we should be doing.
Correct.
We're looking at you guys putting on a 12 lead. Immediately, if the criteria says STEMI, transmit that, get the cath lab team rolling, and then treat your patients.
Correct.
Don't forget aspirin, your nitro if need be. And maybe this happens to be you guys have a hypotensive patient. Do your fluid boluses in.
Correct.
We want you to 12 lead, recognize it, transmit it.
Correct. Now, to get through the rest of the information before we show you how to transmit, we got a little bit of ahead. I'm going to show you the additional information that's going to show up here. So see that purple arrow, second button down. That gray box is going to give you different information. All of this is numbers. It's giving you parameters as far as ST elevations. It's giving you QRS durations. We're starting to get into the ALS side of what this 12 lead means. I just want you to understand you're getting more information. A lot of quality information.
Very good information.
Hit the purple again. This is actually going to give you a side-by-side of what the patient is. So if you look at this one that's actually moving, that's a live feed. That's what's going on at the moment. This is what we previously did. So if we're on scene for a long period of time with someone who's having a cardiac event, is that important to see where they were to where they are?
Well, it is. If we had somebody who was having an LAD, and so we're looking at massive high lateral elevation, we could actually see this here. We're giving them nitro, and we can actually see the elevation disappear. This is where they go, well, did your treatment work? Oh, this person's not having a STEMI. They were. It just took you 50 minutes to get on scene to transport my patient.
So it's really a beneficial tool.
It's an incredible piece of little tool.
Just to toggle through all of them, and it'll tell you what pages that you're on. And then we're back to the actual diagnostic. So now that we've gone over general information, you're going to get a printout that has that same information that we just toggle through digitally on the screen. We got to figure out how in the world do we transmit?
And that seems to be the problem child for everybody. So let's make this simple. Show me, do the KISS principle, show me how to get this.
So simple. See the envelope?
Oh, yes. I
That
see.
envelope, that third button from the bottom, hit that envelope. When you hit that envelope, you're going to get a display of options. This one at the moment doesn't have anything programmed. Faro can program them. Typically, our monitors have 3 locations. So our locations are Cobb Fire Headquarters, Cobb Hospital, and Kennestone Hospital.
There we go.
So it's really just dependent on where you are and where you want to transmit it to, right?
And normally what you guys are going to see is in your pack, you're going to actually have a modem hooked up. There will be, in your little pouches, there'll actually be a black piece hooked up here. And when you go to transmit, it will actually say, where do you want to do it?
So as far as transmitting this, is there any issues for us, like, let's just say we're in the house. Can we transmit it from the house, from the BLS, because we are getting new monitors on the BLS trucks.
Correct.
Does it have the same capability as, say, the Rescue that's already at ALS has had it for forever?
So my understanding is that these would be bounced off of the actual engine's Cobb hotspot.
Okay.
So when you click that button on and you say, I'm going to transmit, and we'll show you on the home screen, your little arrow will come up, it'll turn green, and you'll just say, I want to go to Kennestone. And you click the button and it's transmitting to Kennestone.
So worst case scenario. Let's say technology fails, or even
Technology
human
fails.
error. You know, we all have to raise our hands sometimes and say, "Oopsie, we made mistakes." Right?
Correct.
We can't get this thing to transmit.
Not at all.
What do we do now?
So at the top, we're going to have you guys a phone number
Okay.
for Kennestone Hospital. You will actually pick up that phone, Kennestone Hospital. You'll say, hey, I am Engine 6. I am unable to transmit. This is Cobb Fire Engine 6. I'm unable to transmit. I'm on scene of a 35-year-old male who's having, and you guys will take this and you'll read, I am having a high lateral MI and leads 1, V5, 6, whatever. And you read out your patients there and they will start.
That's pretty simple.
Simple as that. And then you tell them, I will eventually get you a transmitted 12 lead.
So let's just say that specific scenario, right?
Okay.
So technology failed, we failed, be human error. We made that phone call. They want that transmission eventually, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's say this monitor's turned off and we had to go find an old 12 lead. So how do we do that?
Well, that right here is actually not as hard as you would think. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get out of this screen. All right. So we're getting, anything else you want to talk about here on your 12 leads before we get out of that and go find some old ones?
I'm doing a quick scan. Nope. Not that I can think of, Dave.
So we're going to exit 12 lead. So the easiest way to do it is when you're going back is the log button.
Okay.
And that's how I like to do it. So go ahead and push your log for me over there. Now, once again, everything was based off of the envelope.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to the envelope. Now I'm going to close out this case. And when I close out the case, all I'm going to do is go back to see what my time was and which one it was. Remember, every time we turn this monitor on, it starts a new log.
Okay.
So let's say I had the monitor turned off. I'd go back and look, which one did I have? Well, this one had 12 minutes duration, and that's when I was on scene of that patient. The
Okay.
patient was on there for 12 minutes. So I'd actually go back and click that one for the 12 minutes.
Okay.
So select that, click my 12 minutes, click your home to get to transfer, and then when I go to transfer it, once again, I just have to say where I want to transfer it to.
I will tell you too, like I've learned with this monitor, usually there's a couple of different ways you can find information.
Correct. That's
Recover
my
information.
easiest way.
So I'll show you the way that I learned. That may be a little bit different, maybe
All
a
right.
little bit easier. So if we go back, exit out of this option, select that. There you go. There we go, Dave.
All right.
So now we're going to go back to home. No, never mind. Hit this arrow. Hit this arrow until you're back to this default view. We have all these options here. We're going to hit the select the 12 button again, 12 lead button again. And if you look at that piece of paper with a check mark, this stores 12 leads.
Ah,
There's a massive bank. A lot is the answer that I have right now. It'll eventually lose the 12 lead over time, but I will tell you it stores a bunch. So what you end up doing is you hit that little button next to it.
and there it is. There's the Wardlaw one.
Yep. You can select it. And what it does is it gives you in the gray that 12 lead that we took.
Okay.
It also gives you the ability to transmit. So as soon as I selected the 12 lead that I wanted, so and I want to hyper focus, there's only one 12 lead we've done on this monitor so far. So you're only seeing one. So initially, if this thing has been in service for a while, you're going to see a bunch. So
Gotcha.
select the one that you want. Once you select it, it's going to give you the option to actually transmit it.
Based off of your time and the patient's last name.
Correct. And all you got to do at that point is transmit.
Yeah, I like yours. Yours is a little KISS principle.
Yep.
You can go to the opposite way, but there's a lot more steps, and you're having to then turn around and say, what was the time I kept the patient on the monitor?
Correct.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with two ways. I like your way. I like the KISS principles. So let's do KISS.